Bruchim Aboim B'Shem Hashem, B'Shem Irgin Shir, I'd like to welcome everyone to today's shir from Rabbi Yaakov Smith, and Tzuras HaPesach She'asom and Atzad is the Eiruv Kosher practical guide. We have great schos sponsoring a shir called Irgin Shir at 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com. Rav Smith.
Recently I saw in our neighborhood there were two Eiruvs that were constructed in front of the house, and both of them were psul. And obviously the person tried, he meant well, but he didn't know the halachas. I was thinking I'd like to try to talk about today the one part of the sugya of an Eiruv that someone made in his backyard or the front yard. Typically we think of an Eiruv in the bungalow colony, in a camp, but first of all, many people have it in their own homes, in their backyard, especially Sukkot is coming. And I want to just make a point that, typically the halachas of Eiruv is really designated for a Rav. The Rav has to know how to make an Eiruv. It's now it can't be called the person in charge, the Eiruv Rav, for a good reason. That's his job. But the emphasis of today's sugi is lav dafka for Rabbanim. It's anybody that wants to have an Eiruv, and as we'll see, it's a beautiful sugya. It's not complicated with pictures or with mathematics. And some people have a mental block. They're scared of Hilchas Eruvin because it's complicated. Well, today it's not going to be any confusion. If you want to be confused, you have to go elsewhere. Here it's going to be very straightforward. It's a sugya like all other sugyas. Basically, we have to just make them a short yisoid, and then we'll give many different examples practically regarding this Hilchas Eruvin. The halacha, as we know, you know how to carry, is lav dafka if it's a shusarabim, it's owned by the public versus privately owned. A person can have a backyard that he owns it. It's a one-family house. He owns the house. He owns the yard. But if it's not enclosed, then he can't carry there. L'idach gisa, you could have a big area that's owned by many people, and yet you're allowed to carry them. What's the deciding factor when you're allowed to carry in an area or not? So it's not the legal ownership. The right word is it enclosed? When something is enclosed lahalacha, then it's one rishus, then it's considered a rishus, you're allowed to carry it. Even if many owners, if you're making a proper enclosure, then you're allowed to carry there. Now, typically, if you have a city that has enclosed by a gate, then you're allowed to carry there. Or, with today's sugya, introduces us to a new concept. And that's lav dafka to put up a gate and put up walls. And that's what's called the Tzuras HaPesach. Tzuras HaPesach literally means it's the image of a door and a doorpost. But that's a lot more than it sounds. The Gemara in Sukkah, also in Masechet Eruvin, in Sukkah Daf Hey, that mechitzin is halacha l'moshe misin. And what does that mean? So to put it very simply, imagine the shtender for today that I have in front of me. This would be a big area, and you can't carry in the big area. So we put up two posts on this side and two on this side, and you run a string across. Then you're allowed to carry midaraisa. Why? Because this is the Tzuras HaPesach. Now let's try to keep it very simple. The posts are called the lechi. But I'm going to use the word post because it's easier to remember. Lechi, you'll forget which the lechi kaira. So when you use the word post for the poles going up. The string across, that's really called the kaira. But then you forget lechi and kaira. So let's use post and string. Now of course, mi'ikad din, they didn't necessarily use only strings. You could use a piece of wood. But again, it makes it much easier. We have 4 lechayayim on all 4 sides, or 2, whatever it is, and that's the post, and the string goes across. So Rashi in Sukkah Daf Zayin explains that once you have a Tzuras HaPesach, a valid Tzuras HaPesach, it's considered like a stima ma'alya. We look at it with Torah eyes like this is a wall. So if you put up a proper Tzuras HaPesach, you'll see with your Torah eyes that there's a bechitza, and you're not carrying outdoors. It's considered as if it's perfectly enclosed. So again, midaraisa, this is halacha moshe misinai. You could have a huge area. You have 4 posts, and you have a proper string. You enclose it. Zok the Gemara in Sukkah Daf Zayin, you're allowed to carry there. Now, In fact, some question when you have a kosher at Tzuras HaPesach that's supposed to simulate a door, maybe you need a mezuzah. After all, it's a Tzuras HaPesach. But the minig is not to make a mezuzah, and the svar is pashut. It's like a bimkaim koyin is not a koyin. This is not a real Pesach. But what's interesting is the halacha, which I just saw this yesterday, that someone had an enclosure in his backyard, and there was a area that was open. There was no gate. Whatever the reason is, it was broke. It used to be a door, broke, whatever it is. But there's a gate around the backyard, and there's an open area. So that's called a pirza. It's open. The halacha is less than 10 amas, approximately 20 feet, a little less, but approximately 20 feet. Even if it's open, it doesn't disturb the mechitza. You're allowed to carry in the backyard as long as it's the pirza is less than 10 amas, approximately 20 feet. So here we have a Mordecai Kasha. And this Reb Chaim in the Chaim Brisker in the Brachal Rambam, Perek Tezayin, Halacha Tezayin, Hilchos Shabbos, he says a beautiful yisoid. When you have, let's say, a big plot of land, and you put a 4 posts and string, you're allowed to carry there. It's open much more than 20 feet. How could you carry with a Tzuras HaPesach? So Chaim says a pashut vart, that if you have a pirza, it's a break in the mechitza, it's possible. But here, you don't have a break. You have a kosher Tzuras HaPesach. When you put on your Torah eyeglasses, you know what you see when you have a Tzuras HaPesach? 4 walls. Why is 4 walls a pirza? In other words, a 20 amma break is a break in the wall. Tzuras HaPesach, that's the Lacha Moshe Sinai. We look at it as if it is 4 walls. 4 walls is not a pirza.
How big it has to be?
Doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference. As you see, the reason why we don't make just 4 posts is very simple, because the string is going to sag and it's going to fall. It's not going to hold. But if you theoretically, this is a Gemara in Sukkah. If you have a big plot of land that's flat and it's easy to work with, there's no trees in the way, you could have 4 posts, run a string around, and it's kosher, 100% kosher. Now, I just want to make one point, and then we're going to have to get to our Gemara today. And that if we keep on saying the Eiruv is kosher, the Eiruv is psul, that's really a misnomer. Because Eiruv means mixture. The Rambam explains Eiruv Chatzeris, Eiruv Tchumen, and Eiruv Tavshilin, you're mixing. In Eiruv Chatzeris, you're mixing the people to make it one. Eiruv Tchumen, you want to make a new Rishus, so you put down an Eiruv Tchumen, and now you have you mix the 2 Rishuyas. Eiruv Tavshilin, you mix Shabbos and Yom Tiv. What we're talking about today is not an Eiruv. You're not mixing anything. You know what it's called? Tzuras HaPesach. Once you make a Tzuras HaPesach, then you have to have an Eiruv Chatzeris. But the right word is the right word is Tzuras HaPesach, but the Welt says Eiruv, so I'm going to say Eiruv also. So Eiruv is kosher, psul, making an Eiruv, but really the right word is Tzuras HaPesach. Now let's apply what we learned now, halacha l'maisa. First and foremost, which is the aside of today, halacha l'maisa l'chaladeis. Zog Gemara in Eiruv and Daf Yud Aleph. Tzuras HaPesach she'asa min hatzad. You made it on the side, like asa v'loi klum. Which means, instead of putting the string on the top of the post, you put it in the middle. Now, for those that are listening, thank you for listening, but I'll have to give a very simple mashal. If you make the Eiruv looking like an H, so you have the 2 posts, like this, instead of putting it on the top, you put it on the center, or even close to the top, but it's not on the top mamish. So what he's supposed to do is put it on the top like this, and that's perfect. He put it over here, or like this, any other way, but it's not on the top. Tzuras HaPesach she'asa min hatzad, lo asa v'lo klum. Now, the Gemara is not saying it's not mahadrin, it's worthless. It's not better than nothing, it's absolutely nothing. What is wrong with the Tzuras HaPesach min hatzad? So we know the answer. Because he's trying to make a doorpost. Do you ever see a doorpost that the mashkoif is in the middle? So Rashi, because it has to be on the top and not in the middle. Rashi, the Rosh in Aleph Yudal and Erevin quotes Rashi even starker. That's not the typical doorpost. Tzuras HaPesach is 2 mezuzahs, 2 doorposts, and a mashkaif. But when the mashkaif is in the middle, is on the side, that's not a normal Tzuras HaPesach. So this is the most important yesod for today. The string has to be on the top, not on the side. Side could be the upper part, the middle, lower part. It makes no chiluk. Once it's not on the top, it is pasul. Not just pasul, like asa v'lay klum. The Mordechai in Eiruv and Yud Aleph, he adds a word, another 2 words. It's like pischi shimai. Now pischi shimai is a whole sugya for itself, but basically pischi shimai, Rashi teaches, means a Tzuras HaPesach mekulkel that's mechusa tikkun. In other words, it's an inferior quality Tzuras HaPesach. Because again, normal Tzuras HaPesach has the 2 posts aligned and the string on the top, but not on the side. So when you have something on the side, it's an inferior Tzuras HaPesach. But whatever the case is, Tzuras HaPesach min hatzad means it's on the side, not on the top. Loi asa v'loi klum. In fact, Toises in the beginning of Masechta Eruvin seems to suggest a Tzuras HaPesach that's min hatzad, it's possible midaraisa. Because Halacha Maish B'Sinai says it's kosher, and you didn't do what you're supposed to do. Lamaisa, this is quoted in Shulchan Aruch, Shin Samach Beis Sif Yud Aleph. Tzuras HaPesach min hatzad is pasul. But here the Shulchan Aruch adds a point, which is extremely negeya. Let's say I have a Tzuras HaPesach on one side is good. The other side, I attached it not to the top, to a lower part of it. So when I have one Tzuras HaPesach that's kosher, and one Tzuras HaPesach that's min hatzad. How do you look at that? So we could say zil basa taima. If you don't have a normal Tzuras HaPesach with both on the top, it's pasul. Ibo yisei mikra. Rashi's lashon is you have to have the string al rashei hen lashon rabim, and that's why the Mechaba, when he says that min hatzad is pasul, the lashon is oy echad me min hatzad loy mahani. So let's chazar over and apply this lemaisa. Basically, the Tzuras HaPesach is not stam a joke. It's halacha l'maish misinai. If you make the Tzuras HaPesach, which means 2 mezuzahs, 2 posts, and a string across on top, that's like a door. That's like it's closed, like a mechitza. That's like mechitzin, that's halacha l'maish misinai. If it's on the side, even if it's one on the side, that's pasul, and we'll soon see in examples. So again, the most pasha mashal is you made a Tzuras HaPesach like an H, where the string is in the center, and that is no good. Now I'm going to ask you a simple question with not such a simple answer. What does it mean min hatzad is pasul? Is the pshat that it has to be on top? If it's not on top, pasul. Or maybe the ik is it can't be lower than the mezuzos. What's the nafkamina? So the ta is a perfect nafkamina. This is the post. Okay, a tissue box. You took the string, again, string, ladaf, string is the kaira, and you put it that it aligns with the posts. Not on top, that's for sure kosher. It aligns perfectly. So here, it's not lower, like this, not an H, but then again, it's not on the top. And the Taz seems to say that as long as it's not lower than the doorpost, than the doorposts, it would be kosher. The problem is not, it has to be on the top. It can't be lower than the posts. As look at Taz. And his lashon, he brings a right from Rashi. Rashi says, if it's be'emtza, it's no good. So the Taz hold, if you would have a Tzuras HaPesach, looks just like this, where you have the 2 posts and the post across, the string is aligned properly, it's flush, equal, it would be kosher. But the emes of the Taz is not such a chiddush. Because you look at a typical mezuzah and mashkoif, it's not necessarily on top, as long as it has that door frame. And the Taz holds this is kosher. The Rabbi and the Rav and our Simon Shin Samach Beis agree to the Taz. But the Mishnah very clearly rejects the Taz. Sifkat and Samach Dalet, He quotes the Taz, says, Kol achroinim cholken olav. And the svara l'choira is, it has to be on top. Not just, it shouldn't be on the side, it has to be on top. So the Chakir that I told you is a machlokes Taz, and Mishbura says, Kol achroinim. So although the Taz is a ganz feine svara, but Lamaisa, we're going to say, if you have a suffix like Osav like Klum, you better redo it. So that's why the Minig Yisrael is not to put it aligned side by side, but you put the Tzuras HaPesach, make it proper. You have two posts and a string or a crossbeam on top of it. Now, let's talk about the following case. Someone has a Tzuras HaPesach, and he didn't do a good job. It's min hatzad. So one post is good, the string is good, but the second post is min hatzad. And it's soon Shabbos, what could he do? So we're going to learn a Yisoid Nifla that's going to be very helpful for Hein to get Eiruvin. It's going to be helpful for those that want to use the utility lines. If you noticed, in cities that have Eiruvin, it's not like in the bungalow calendar you have big posts and strings. Very often you don't even notice the string in a city Eiruv. And it's a very good svara. If you're going to have a post, like in the bungalow colony, it's going to be low. Trucks are going to knock it down, people are going to knock it down, and you're not looking for trouble. You want to make sure the Eiruv is secure. So what's used in typical Eiruvin, they don't have posts at all, or not too many of them. There's a plank, either a plank of wood, or typically they use a sheet of metal, like imagine a big, thick blech, and it's placed in the right area, and the Rav knows what he's doing, and it's secured to a gate or something, whatever it is, but you have a sheet of metal that's probably around 4 feet high. And you look, you say, what is this? There's no string on top of it. Why is this here all of a sudden? They put up an Eiruv. I don't see an Eiruv. I see a sheet of metal, or I see a plank of wood. That is the post. Where's the string? Attached high up to an apartment building that's pretty high up. So no one could, by mistake, tear it down or whatever it is. What's the shaykhis? There's a plank, a 4-foot plank over here, string high up. How did that work? That's what's called good asik. Now imagine this would be, in the street, this would be the sheet of metal or the plank of wood. There's nothing on top of it, mamish. But all the way up, there's a string. Because of good asik, that the wall goes up, it's as if this goes all the way up until it hits the string. You have a wonderful Tzuras HaPesach. What's the Maila? Because this doesn't move, it doesn't shake, it doesn't sag. It's a piece of metal that's attached. It's not moving anywhere. The string is high up and cannot be torn in any way. And you connect the Eiruv like that. Now, what's the Maila of having such a wide post? It's very poshut. Because here you have much more leeway. It's always going to be min hatzad, unless you're really off track. But you have the string on top, and you have it. I'm sorry, that's what I mean. It should not be. It shouldn't be chesarna min hatzad. This keeps it that it's not a problem min hatzad. Now this is used typically whenever it's needed, and this is an eitzah that someone could do erev Shabbos. I know someone called me. He was all frantic. He called me erev Shabbos. He was in a certain place, and he noticed one Tzuras HaPesach was fine, and the other one there wasn't a Tzuras HaPesach. There was screwed in a hook like this into the wall, and the string was attached to the hook. There wasn't any lechi. There wasn't any post. I told him, if you quickly get a garbage can that measures around 40 inches. Now, typically our garbage cans don't. But I know, I was just in Lakewood for Shabbos, the Lakewood garbage cans, don't know why. The township Lakewood is higher than 10 tvachim. So you can move that in under the string, make sure you got it right, and that would be your lechi, because it is a keli, it is of significance, and that you say gurasik all the way up. Now, lamaisa, this is even though it's interesting, it has to be on top, the string has to be on top of the lechi, but doesn't have to be touching. You use the Torah good asik, and that's as if it's done properly. Now, someone asked me, he had a few lechayim, one after the other, that were puzzle. But you picture like a big area, and they had the one lechi that's passed, the second one. So can he put a plank in the beginning of that area, a plank at the end of that area, and use all the strings? And the answer is why not? As long as it's done properly, as long as it's aligned properly, you could have a post over here, a wide post, going all the way up, the end, and it's perfectly fine. Now this is the metzias that is used in many Eiruvin in our city Eiruvin. Now one thing I will mention, make sure that you measure it that it's taka aligned properly. Because looks are deceiving. Mr. Brewer writes in Sifkat and Samach Gimel, Afilu im kana echad lo mechuva kenegdi el rocha kolshu, a little bit off is possible. Now typically if you have a long wide post, you can't go wrong. But people sometimes just assume it's good and it's not a good idea. I saw the Avnei Yoshvi Chelik Bey Simem Em Gimel, he has a beautiful Einfall, and he says that if it looks good, maybe you don't have to measure it. We try to measure things. He says here, he says a svara, he uses the svara of Tzuras HaPesach lahakol. Why do you have to have a Tzuras HaPesach al gabav not min hatzad? Otherwise, it doesn't look like a Tzuras HaPesach. But if this looks like a Tzuras HaPesach, even if it's a little bit off, so what's so bad? It looks like a Tzuras HaPesach. That's the kavanah. But then he says, Lamaisa, if it has to be al gabav, it's not al gabav. So the svara is a nice svara, but lamaisa it's kedai to do it properly. You know, today they could drop a plumb line from the string down, or today the kids have a beam, a little light, and you hold it straight, and it goes straight up. So if the beam hits the string, you're okay. Usually it does, but it's kedai to do things right, because don't forget, a suffix in this is a suffix loy asa v'loy klum. Rabbi Kiva Eiga in the Chuvas in Siman Lamed Hay said beferish that if one post is not done properly, it's no good, and that's why the eitzah I told this person is you get any type of a structure, a keli, or even a plank of wood, and you secure it to the wall, and it goes straight up. That would remedy his problem. I saw a beautiful ha'ora halacha l'maisa. Someone had not never Tzuras HaPesach. He had an actual real Tzuras HaPesach. There's a door, open up, but there's no door in it. It was like an arch-shaped Tzuras HaPesach. It was all made part of the decoration of the house. Picture two going straight up, two posts, and instead of going across, it went an arch, like a half circle. Would that be a kosher Tzuras HaPesach? It's not. It's al gabav, but it's not straight across. So the Shulchan Aruch in the end of Siman Shin Samach Beis says it's kosher. Why? And here's the beauty of the svara, because it's not like a Tzuras HaPesach. It is a Tzuras HaPesach, and people make such Tzuras HaPesach. So in our minds, you have to have two posts and a string on top, and we have a real Tzuras HaPesach, episfelt. But lamaisa, some poskim hold it's not good. You have to have the decoration of the posts sideways, but you have to have a frame around it. But the Mechaber does not quote that shita, even though it's a shita of some Rishonim. And but Mr. Brewer says beferish that as long as you have the posts on both sides more than 10 tvachim, then it can slope. Doesn't make a chilik. You have to have 10 tvachim, otherwise it's not a Tzuras HaPesach. But typically a regular door, a regular entrance, an arched entrance would be okay. Now the next question is extremely negeya. It's interesting because this that we use strings in our minds, strings is Tzuras HaPesach Hainu Hach. It's lav dafka. They used to make two posts and a kana, a piece of wood al gabav. When did it change? I don't know. But the Prima Godim in the end of Shin Samach Beis and Shin Samach Gimel Sifkat in your test already talks about using string instead of the kana al gabeim. Prima Godim says it, and all the poskim afterwards. The interesting is the Binyan Sion in Siman Chavav, that's the Aruch HaNer's Tshuva Sefer, quotes Amnasan Adlam, the Rebbe of the Chasam Sefer. He says, it's fine to use string, but make sure you do it properly. Because he's saying, and that's not the right, if you take, this can be the Tzuras HaPesach for today, if you take a string, just like I'm doing, and wrap it around the post, and run it. This is min hatzad. On the post is not on top of the post. So he says, what should you do? Knock a nail in, attach the string to the nail, and then you're fine. So Rav Nosson Adler already, in his time, they used string. But listen to an unbelievable ha'ora l'maisa. When you tie string to the nail, like I have right here, there seems to be a major problem. What's the problem? Because if you count the nail as part of the post, and it's not on the very top of the nail, so we're back to Tzuras HaPesach, min hatzad. It's not at the top. Doesn't have to be dafk in the middle to be psal, as long as it's not on the top. So this is a big ha'ara. How could you use a nail? It's going to be, it's not on the top of the Tzuras, not on the top of the post. It should be like min hatzad. So this question obviously can't be a good taina because the Veld uses nails. And that alone, the Veld does something, we don't make mistakes. But the Svara, Zokta Beis Shloima, the scholar of Nuhei Sif Cotton Gimel, he says, first, someone asked him this question. He goes, first of all, if he didn't do it, it's okay. Don't think everybody's making a choice. But then he adds a Pasha to Svara, that basically, it does look like a Tzuras HaPesach. In other words, the fact is, it's something on top of it. But l'chayr, there's more to it than just it looks like a Tzuras HaPesach. The whole question is based on a misconception. Because the question is based on the assumption that the nail becomes part of the post. The post is wide, the nail is thin. Why don't we say that the nail is bottled to the string? Once it's bottled to the string, then it's on top of the post. And this is the taina of the Kaf HaChaim in Shin Samach Beis, Sivkot and Kuf Zayin. He says the post is not, the nail is not part of the post, it's a davar chitzayni. It's there to help the string stay connected. So different svaras are leading to the same conclusion. I saw the Marsham and Chelik Tes Yud Zayin also says, he says that the chevel is on top of the post. Because the post is wide and the nail is wide, is very thin. And the Mishnah Berurah says, Noyatz masmer b'roish hakana taya chevel da'munach lamayla keneged hakana. In other words, the reason why the nail's not a problem is it's not part of the post, it's part of the string. Now, this is clear in all the poskim. Now, what you do see medagdagim that put up an Eiruv, after they attach the string to the nail, they knock the nail all the way down. So then, the string is mamish on the post, on the lechi. Someone came to me once, he was like all frantic. He said, but the Eiruv is psal. I go, what's psal? He says, because there's no nail sticking up. So I said, I didn't want to tell him this, but I'll tell you, he thought that the nail is like the pitim of the esrik. It has to be noticeable. It's wrong. The nail sticking up, we have to try to explain it. But when it's knocked down like this from a camp, it's about the kosher. Now, Lamaisa, the nail is more or less a dava. Either it's independent or it's part of the string, but it's not part of the actual post. Now, someone asked, can you have a string? We have one nail. Can you have one string going this way and another string going the other way? Or further, can you use one nail for two strings? And if the answer is, why not? What's wrong? Now, Lamaisa, I saw a punkt, I was late with for Shabbos, they have taka many Eiruvin, and they have a more of a chiddush, and they don't use a regular nail on the top, they have on hook and eye, they have the eye, something like this. So if you're just listening without watching, it's a regular, the old-fashioned hook and eyes, but a big version of the eye. So it's nailed in, and of course the mile is you have much more room to work with. Is it anything wrong that it's wider than a typical nail? And the answer is depends if you know what you're doing. See, you could, this already, not me, the Chachma Shloim, Rav Shloim Kluger on his notes in Shulchan Aruch has this problem. Sometimes a person will attach the hook and eye to the edge of the post, Okay, like this. And then it comes out that Eiruv of the post, Eiruv of the eye is outside. You attach the string just like this. See? It's a problem. Why? Because the eye is already at the edge of the post. The string is attached to the center of the eye, which is above the ear and not above the post. So it's a real McCoy Tzuras HaPesach She'asim Min Hatzad. Again, if this post is already sticking out, you attach the string from here onward, that's a Tzuras HaPesach Min Hatzad. So that's why if you want to use an eye, and Tak I saw again these in Lakewood, they had a wider metal post, and it was the eye on top of it, and they attached it to the center of the eye, which is above the actual post, and it's a perfect Eiruv. Rather, they have two strings going, but as long as you make sure that at the end of the day the string is above the post and not above the ear, that's in the area of the post. Another question, I once saw a very troubling scenes. I guess someone wanted to be machmir. Lamaisa, when you have a regular Eiruv, you attach the string to the nail and everything is kosher. But he wanted it to make it more secure, and this I saw my own eyes. So he had a string like this, tied it to the nail. Then instead of going further, he first wrapped it around the post a few times to make it really secure. And then he continued on to the next post. Now what's the problem with this? It's attached to the nail. But what he did is he lowered the string, attached it to the post itself, and this, Rav Nosson Adler said, is a regular, real McCoy Min Hatzad. So he took a Kosher Eiruv, Amoritz Chassid, and made it a psul Eiruv. What you could do, you want to make it secure, just the opposite. Take the string, first wrap it around the post as many times as you like, then come up, put it onto the string, and when it's on the string like it is, you continue to the next post. Who says this? Mr. Bura Kamat. The Mr. Bura and Simon Sifkotten Samach Dalid. He says if you knock the nail in and you tie the string onto the nail, and also then after, the Mr. Bura says you first wrapped it around the post, then you went up to the nail, it's kosher. As I say the Mr. Bura. What's the makar of the Mr. Bura's words? The Tveres Yisrael and the Pesicha to Masechta Eruvin. In other words, you could start low, Min Hatzad, go up, attach it to the nail, and it's good. And the Svar is Pasha. But I looked up the Tveres Yisrael. He quotes his father that says, any way you do it, if you first wrap it around the stick and then go up to the nail, or fakert, you tie it to the nail and then go down and wrap it around the post, is good. The Mr. Bura saw this and left out the other case. Now, why? I understand why. Because even though you made it behechsha, but you ruined it. You went lower down, it's psul. Now, what did the Tveres Yisrael's father hold? Probably he held, once it was on the nail, well, who cares if it went lower? It was made behechsha. But Mr. Bura did not like that, obviously. I understand why. And that's why he made a division in the Chiddush. If you start on the bottom and go to the top, it's fine. But if you start on the top, behechsha, and move downward, Mr. Bura held that would be psul. Someone made a Tzuras HaPesach, interesting Tzuras HaPesach, but not a typical. He made a post, a wooden post. He bore a hole on the top part of the post and ran the string through that. That's a Tzuras HaPesach Min Hatzad. It's not on the top of the post at all, and that should be a problem. Now listen to a beautiful Shaila Aloch Lamaisa. I've seen this more than once. Someone needed a high post, especially in a camp or in a colony. You know, the trucks come in, knock down the string, especially by the entrance. So you want to make a high post. So today they have metal posts that's specially made, but he wanted to do it, do it yourself. So he took a piece of wood like this. Then he, of course, before he attached it, he took a second piece of wood like this. Okay? Attached it with screws, whatever it is, it's attached well. and this is his new post. Two pieces of wood attach one to the other. Okay? So now it's much higher, and he can make it, everything is wonderful. And then, of course, he put the string going across. Now, he put the string, obviously, on the higher one, over here. Any problem with this? Again, for those that can't see this, you have one post attached to another one, and he attached to the higher post, and he moved it in the right direction. So you think about it, this is a regular Tzuras HaPesach, that's Asim and Atzad. Why? Because the real Tzuras HaPesach is the lower piece of wood. And the string is going from here onward, right? The string's going like from here onward, like this. But it's not on top of this one. And there's a problem. What? You could. But this is not a Tzuras HaPesach. This is not a post by itself. This is not necessarily 10 Tvachim. Oh, good. And I'm saying, it's not 10 Tvachim. So this is not a Mechitza. This is, and it's not on top of this one. So it is on top of this one, but not on top of this one. No. The string went to, the string from here came here. Good. But this string is puzzle. Oh, we're going to get to you soon. One second. So had he been a little more of a lamdin, he should have done it just the opposite. He should have attached that piece on the other side. So now the string started over here and went across, and then you have good asik over here. So if you started on the outer piece and gone over this one, it's Shalom Al Yisrael. So with a little bit thought, you could solve the problem. This way, where he attached it to the inner piece, but the outer piece is Menatzad. Had he turned it around just like this, it would be perfectly okay. So this is why some poskim say two pieces can be puzzle, and if it's done right, can be kosher. But the emphasis is there are two tzaddim to mekel, even in the worst case where he did it wrongly. First of all, if this, like you said, Taka, if the inner piece is 10 tvachim, then it's his own mechitza. So you don't need this, right? But lamais is attached. So here we have a svara to say that if a piece of wood is a post, right? And let's say it's a little wide on the bottom. Any problem with that? One piece is good. It's on top of that piece. Maybe we look at the two posts connected as one post. So once it's one piece, on top of that piece, it's kosher. And this is the Machzi Avram, the brother Rav, is a tshuva, and he proves it. This is Chelik Beis Yud Gimel from a Gemara, a beautiful raya from Gemara in Yuma Mem Daled Amud Beis, regarding a different context. That when something is connected, it becomes one. So now it's one post. So it's a little wider on the other side, but so who cares? We looked at it like two different posts connected. Then it's a problem. So we have two svaras to be makel. Either if the post is 10 tfachim, has its own identity, you don't need the bottom piece, the other side piece, or if it's connected. And this is talking what many poskim say, that if you have one piece, you could be makel, but a better svar is if it's 10 tfachim independently. Once it's 10 tfachim independently, it's its own bechitza. You don't need the piece that it connects to. Question. Also, unfortunately, extremely negeya. The typical Tzuras HaPesach is when the post is secure, the string runs across, and it's fine. Very often, if you stick a post in the ground, so after a lot of rain and it gets very moist, the post starts to sag, starts to turn downward, or sometimes this way, but it turns in the wrong direction. It's not erect. So the question is, assuming that this is the post, it's supposed to be like this, and after a while it goes like this. And of course the string follows. Now the string is straight for some reason, but the post is slanty. Is this still good? The other side is okay, the other side is attached to a tree, so it doesn't move. But this is independent, standing in the ground. After a while, it turns like this. And once we're talking about shilas, sometimes, depending on the weight, it turns this way. Same story. The string goes across, attached to a post on the tree. The second post is good. The first one is slanted either inward or outward. Is that any halacha? Either way, is it all the same? So again, this is mamash our sugi with all the shenkite. If it's slanted like this, then it's a real tzuras hapesach she'asa min hatzad. Why? Well, look, if you draw an imaginary line from the string down, it's not under the post. But if it's slanted outward like this, so it's perfect. In fact, it's under the entire post. You draw a line, it's all under the post. So the place can make this chilik. If it goes outward, leaning outward, it's still over the post.
Losing the tzias hapesach.
Oh, good, excellent. The only issue, that's it. The only issue is if this is pischi shimoi. Is this considered an inferior tzuras hapesach? I mean, like, it's seen better days. But once you could salvage it, l'chayra, we'll soon see on a slant. You'll have to make it on a slant when there's necessary. So the poskim say this chilik. Certainly, within 3 tfachim, if it's not such a severe slant, which the Zalman in Minchas Shleim Tanyana, Simon Samas, if got in Chav Gimel, he held his kosher. He quotes what?
Either way.
Oh, so that's the issue. He held his kosher either way. That's very good. He quotes the Chazon Ish also. Within 3 tvachim, it's as if nothing has changed. But definitely to answer your question, it's a well-put question, if it's within 3 tvachim, it's not such a significant ruination of the tzuras hapesach. But no doubt about it, we invest so much that the house should be nice, the Erev has to be maintained. People think I made the Erev and it's going to stay forever. It's not shaykh. Things start to deteriorate. Again, the erosion in the ground, is firmness has a lot of big impact on an Eiruv. Basically, you have to make sure that the Eiruv is always, you have to have maintenance. And I'll tell you another mashal. I saw this mamish before Shabbos. So walking here in this neighborhood, someone had in the Eiruv tzuras hapesach in the front of the house. They wanted to carry whatever the story was. And mamish, you could see it. The branch of the tree growing in their front yard deflected the Eiruv, the string Eiruv, considerably. It was mamish like this. The Eiruv was good, but there was a branch that schlepped the Eiruv string out of place and also brought it lower. Mamish like this. And then after the tree, so then the string went back and attached the other side. But there was one area of the string Eiruv that was out of place and lower. That's 2 reasons that this is a min hatzad. It was lower than the beam that's supposed to be on. So with a little bit foresight, you should have realized that it is a problem. So this is something you have to trim regularly. You have trees, especially in the mountains, trees get in the way. Trees getting in the way is a major problem. Another common scenario, it's come out inevitable unless you do it right. You start off with 2 posts and the string and everything is fine. After a while, the string stretches, sometimes, especially plastic string, and now it sags. So there's no tree. It's on its own, it's drooping downwards, almost like this. And of course, on the other side, it's attached well, so it looks like this. Is this still a kosher Eiruv? Why? Look, you'll see. Because the center is min hatzad. In other words, if it's taut like this, firm, so the whole string is above the area of the post. But if it's sagging like this, it's a problem, l'chayr. And Taka the Mishkanis Yaakov has a beautiful tshuva, a very lengthy tshuva, Simon Kuf Chav Gimel. He says if it's sagging, it should be a problem. After all, it's min hatzad. And he quotes the Maral in the Seif on Eruvin that the string has to be in the middle of the 2 posts. But he adds, and the Maral himself mentions this, if it's just a sag of less than 3 tvachim, which is close to a foot, be'erech, then it's not considered a sag in halacha, because with the concept of lavud, it's as if it's moved upward. The Imre Yoisha, in the beautiful tshuva Chelik Beis and Kuf Lamed Gimel, also says that people have segs in their strings, less man the carpet, within 3 tvachim of a seg is okay. Okay. Lamaisa, there is a mile of doing it right. Again, there are poskim that hold that we don't say love it in this respect. It's still min hatzad, but it's kedai, number 1, to check the Eiruv occasionally, and number 2, today they have the thin metal string, if you could call it string, that doesn't sag, it doesn't stretch. That's a much better eitzah. Sometimes you see, it's even worse, there's a sag, and because the sag, it's not tight, it blows in the wind. The wind blows this way and that way, so it looks more like a jump rope than an Eiruv. So we find in Hilchas Sukkah, Gemara Sukkah Chav Gimel Amid Beis, a mechitz she'eni yachal lamed b'ruach metzuya is not a mechitza. And Mechaber says it very clearly regarding Hilchas Eiruvin in Shin Samach Gimel Sifhei, lechi de'inoshe beizika loy motzi koi loy choshev lechi. A lechi, and I was talking about the post. If you have a very thin post that blows with the wind, it's not a lechi. And this is why l'chayra, if the string droops slightly, but it blows in the wind, that's a problem. That's not a mechitza. However, there are 2 big studies to be makel, because the Maisi, you'll notice many times the string, I don't think people know the sugya, but the string blows in the wind and they're not makbid on it. Zokte machza shekel, and this is a plea, in the end of Siman Shin Samach Beis, Amardika Einfal. Of course, if the post blows in the wind, it's not a mechitza. But who said that the string can't blow in the wind? So he says the Gemara, the Mechaber are talking about the mechitzas, the post blowing. So it would be, let's say you have a very thin post like this, and the wind blows it, so oich ba mechitza. But who said on the string that blows, which is the cross beam, maybe there's no psul of blowing in the wind? And also, obviously, if it blows less than 3 tfachim, we have the same lavut. Rav Moshe in Chelek Esim and Mem, Halichas Shloim and Hilchas Sukkah, beginning of Perek Zayin, talk about a sukkah that's made from walls that blow in the wind. What's that? The canvas sukkahs. And they both say within 3 tfachim is like it doesn't move. So, although Lamaisa, again, maintenance, keep the sukkah, keep the Eiruv right, make it right. If it blows less than 3 tvachim, there are 2 tzadim to be made. I saw this during the summer. They were connecting 2 colonies in the mountains, of course, and one was down the road, one was up the road. So how do you make an Eiruv going from down the road to up the road? Now the Eiruv was good, there's no problem with the Eiruv. But the problem is that the Eiruv was made on a slope. Because imagine going up a road. So the upper beam was looks like this, and then it went down like this, and it was really straight going with the road. But it was like a sliding pond. So the question is that Eiruv, that type of Eiruv, is that acceptable or not? So the Magen Avram, the Chayr talks about this. Magen Avram, at the end of our Simmer Shin Samach Beis, that it's Kosher afilu echad gasa michaveirei. In what he's not talking about a road or a slope, he's saying if you have 2 posts, and one is taller than the other one, it's okay. Why not? So Magen Avram makes no issue of the fact that it slopes l'chayr. Comes together with Kiva Eiga on the page, quotes the Magen Avram. He says, but if you have something that looks misshaped, it's not a good fit, maybe it's a psul of shamoy. He says, if the chevel atzma mishupa harbe, it's like a pischei shamoy. Oich me'atzuras HaPesach, it slopes. Mitzarachin ladina. So you have a Magen Avram that seems to be mekel, and the Kvege blind by Tzarachin ladina. But here, there's another problem. Rabbi Aaron, I saw this quote in a wonderful Sefer Eiruv, it's page 94, and also the Bianca Bloy Sefer on Hilchas Eiruvin quotes it as well in Perek Yutes, Sifka and Samach. If you have a slope that's more than 45 degrees angle, that means it's more laying down, it's more erect than laying down. See, the string goes across. That is horizontally. If it's going up or down, that's vertically. Once it's more than 45 degrees on a slope, it's no longer horizontal. Now it's vertical, it's going down. And once it's more than 45 degrees, then even the Magen Avraham holds it's no good. It's not a Tzuras HaPesach. Tzuras HaPesach supposed to go across, not down or up. And this is a problem with Eiruv that have a slope. Now if you have to make it on a mountain, going down, mountain or hill, whatever it is, we have to make it again on a bungalow, from up to down, this would be the problem. Could be the svara is that in this case, it's really following the road, so it's really going in the same direction as the road. The fact that it slopes is not terrible. But Lamais, you should make sure not to make it a more than a 45-degree angle, because that we have a problem of Pischei Shemoy.
The fact that it's parallel to the road doesn't mean anything.
It does. It's not a Shemoy. It's not an inferior type of Eiruv. Yeah, but the question is, and the truth is more than that.
Norway doesn't look like it.
Right. Okay. Well, if you would have to make a banister going up, you don't have a banister, a good muscle. So I understand, but you see, okay, so you have to get into it. Okay, so the steps going up. You're right. Okay, and I think they're all marked not to make it more than a 45-degree angle. Let me tell you a beautiful shaila. Let's say someone had on top of, he had a post, but he wanted to do something a little more secure. So he had a wooden post, and he carved out the center of the post. So now it looks like this. This is wood, and the post is all wood, but he carved out an area so he could put the string or the plank across like this. What would you say to this? It's al-gabi post, but there's a post on both sides, so it's reinforcing it. Or maybe, what do you mean? Al-gabi both sides, min atzad. So who has this ha'ara? This is the Mekor Chaim in his Sefer on Hilchos Pesach. He has a short kuntres tikkun Eiruvin, and he holds this is kosher. Because what's wrong? It's a string post, a side beam on top of the post. You have support on both sides. It's not besser. He says, Dal mahachi this, and you have a very kosher Eiruv. But the Mishnah Berurah says, what does that mean? This is still the post, and it's minatzad for both posts. So Mishnah Berurah says he can't accept the Mekor Chaim. But he makes an interesting a pshara that, let's say he didn't carve out so much area. He carved out just enough that the string or the crossbeam fits in beautifully. So now you see it's flush, and it's mamish a perfect fit. It's laying in the groove, and everything else is the same level. So that is makel. Both sides are higher than the string or the crossbeam. What about that? When this in Kirios and Chut Tashani asks this kasha, what kind of pshara is this? If you hold this is psal, so when you made a perfect fit, but it's still outside of most of the kana. So he said very gishmak. Maybe for that you can rely on the Taz. Besides the fact that you made it, that it's al gabi kana, it's on gabi the post, you have the Taz that says that a perfect fit is never a problem. So I thought that was beautiful. This would be lamais. I don't think you should be a kunzmach and do like this, but this l'choira makes a lot of sense. The Paiskim discuss about a chute tes gimel with that's an abbreviation. Chute tes gimel. Now when you learn Eiruv and you're flustered, what is that supposed to mean? Well, tes gimel is not talis gadol, even though it stims. Chute talis gadol means it's like a talis gadol. Chute tes gadol is the abbreviation of telegraph. Now this is something absolutely beautiful that many pens were broken, quote unquote, to write about using telegraph poles. Late in history, telephone, and today we don't even see that. But let's use the word utility lines. Basically, cities needed Eiruvin. People were poor. They didn't have the manpower. They didn't have the know-how. And when they started using telegraph, people looked up and they saw, hey, this is a ready-made Eiruv in Hashemayim. Why? You have the beam going up. That's the beam. Okay, that's the lechi. And you have the Y is on top that's running across. So Mamish Min HaShemayim, they sent us a ready-made Eiruv. So again, it started telegraph, then telephone, and now telephone is wireless. You see it all over different utility lines. The question is, would that be a ready-made Eiruv? So the Maisa, again, many tshuvos were written about it. Mr. already quotes some of them, but it could be a share for itself. But there are two main problems with using utility lines. Number one, more often than not, and again, I was going to Lakewood Friday, so I checked the number of the different, almost all of them are min hatzad. What it is the pole goes much higher than the sides. The sides stick out, and then something droops down from the side that the wire goes through. So it's like a min hatzad, a double min hatzad. Min hatzad is no good. But more than that, l'chayra, you have to have has to be made l'shem Eiruv. How do you take a ready-made telephone pole and make it into an Eiruv? And that's why b'derech klal most places can reject this. Oh, very good. So that's why the Eiruv that I saw going up the road, it was a brilliant einfall, because going up the road, you had on both sides utility lines going up the road. That was the metzias. So the person realized he can make an Eiruv in a very easy way. He took these planks. They got to use wood, but metal will probably last longer. But they made these going up, and really only need two. As long as you know that the string goes straight, which it doesn't. But what they had to do, they had to follow the utility line. Whenever there was a pole, they put a post. They did it right. And this way you have an Eiruv that's kosher l'chayr l'chol hadays. Now here, there's no problem in hatzad, because again, the string was on top of the post only, and also it was made l'shem Eiruv. The only thing is, Mr. Brewer, Magen Avram, both Mr. Brewer and Magen Avram say, if you have a psul alechi, and then you want to remedy it, so you put in a post like this, a 10 tvachim post, it's good, but it's marasayan. People say, hey, it's attached to a psul alechi. He doesn't know the halacha. They're not going to put 2 and 2 that you made an alternate one. So you take out the psul alechi out marasayan. But here, everybody knows it's pashut. Listen, Karela says it. So therefore, to use the utility lines, if you do it right, it should be okay.
Once you add like a pipe, you go straight.
Can sign also, as long as a pipe is also good. You don't need a wide thing. Only you give more leeway. And I must tell you two more halachas lamaisa of our halacha, mamish from a different sugya, but it's mamish our sugya. The B'chacha, the Eish Lavram, in a few places, and the Marsham and Chelik Dal Ayin Aleph very much follows this psak, that when you have a chuppah, you have to make the chuppah halach. What's chuppah halach? Chuppah really is kenisa l'rishus. How is the chuppah the rishus of the chassan? So it really utilizes the old-fashioned tzuras ha-pesach. The minig Yisrael always was, you have 4 posts. Well, this will be one of them. Then you had the paroichus material on top. So this was a real bona-fide tzuras ha-pesach. Perfect. You had 4 posts and the cover on the top. They started making, I'm not sure why, maybe it may look nice, I'm not even sure why. They started making that the paroichus material was attached on the side. There was like a loop, a hook. They attached it like this, and it hung down nicely. Maybe it looked nice, I'm not sure why they did it, but it was attached to a hook and eye on the side of the posts. And the B'chacha and the Marsham very strongly criticized that's a deviation from the minig Yisrael. But more than that, it's a tzuras ha-pesach min hatzad. It's mamish that problem. So the Hillel Kalamaya came to a chuppah once and refused to make the Siddur Kedushim because it was min hatzad. And one last shayla, I thought this is unbelievable. Many people have, let's say, in a basement or a different upstairs floor, they only have one sink in the bathroom. It's a nice big bathroom, but there's the bathroom and there's a sink, and people feel uncomfortable washing because you're washing in a bathroom. So I saw the Or Letzion in the first tshuva of his Sefer Or Letzion. He says you could make a tzuras ha-pesach. You can have an Eiruv in your bathroom. What is this? It's not so schwer. Make a tzuras ha-pesach, and that will divide the sink from the bathroom, and then you have 2 separate rooms, and it's fine. I got to talk to you all. Oh, like Zokan Hashmoi. It's Chosser Torah. Zokan Hashmoi.
Shame, irgendwie wird like big Ashikar to Smith today share. Und eine von der Kosher, was gesprochen Sache ist, ist so figure über Tal mit schnell mal in Kopf zu man sieht ja Yaakov Terviade. Kaddish. Sikkim, let's tie up the share and everyone the Sikkim.
Just let's chaz what we learned today. Tzuras HaPesach is halacha l'moshe misinai. You have to have the Torah eyes to see. It's a enclosure as if the reshus is enclosed. It's not just a pirza that's mutter. It's mamish like a mechitza. Has to be the tzura of a Pesach, and that's why one of the halachas is like osav v'lei klum. If it's Tzuras HaPesach that's done min atzad, like osav v'lei klum. Even one side that's min atzad is pasul. That's the mechaba. Lav dafka. It's possible if it's in the middle, even towards the top, or close to the top, as long as it's not on the top mamish, that's min ha-tzad and it's possible. The Taz's chiddush was, if it's aligned on both sides, so it's not higher or lower, that might be kosher. Mishmur rejects that as well. So we could say it has to be on top, not lower than the actual posts. A wide post is just eitz toiva, because you have more leeway to string on top, so you can make a virtual Eiruv by using good asik. It's kedai to check or drop a plumb line or use a beam to make sure that's on top. If someone comes to a place, Erev Shabbos, it's late, and there's only one side is done proper, the other side is not a proper post, you could take any chayfetz higher than 10 tfachim, approximately 40 inches, and put that down. That's directly below the string, and that would be your new Tzuras HaPesach for Shabbos. Most poskim hold that an arch type of doorpost is good enough, doesn't have to be flat. String is kosher. If you didn't do it, you're allowed to use it. Just make sure you attach it to the nail. The nail is part of the string or whatever, an accessory to the string. It's not looked at as part of the post. That's why there's no problem of min hatzad. There's a hiddur, but it's not ma'akiv to knock the nail downward. So therefore it would be flush with the post, and therefore the string's on top of the post mamish. Using a ring, instead of a nail is a good idea. You could tie it to the top of that. Wrapping string around after you tied it to the nail to keep it more secure is a problem. Better wrap the string around the post and then bring it up to the nail on top. Two pieces are attached to make it into one. Always put it on the outer piece of wood so it goes over both pieces, and that would be okay. A slanty post is hard to give a klal, but if it's less than 45 degree angle, there's definitely what to be makel. If a branch deflects the tree itself, the tree branch deflects the Eiruv, that's much worse. And I forgot to mention, there is no good asik or lovid when something is holding it. You can't eliminate something that's in the way. A string that's sagging, the chatchila should be corrected, especially blows in the wind, but there are those that are makel less than 3 tfachim. The Tzuras HaPesach that's on a slope has to be done correctly, again, less than 45 degrees. You have to make it on a hilltop or a mountaintop. Make sure you do it correctly. A carved out area, the Mishnah has a shtickle of apshar, as we said. The chuppah should maintain the old minig, and a mechitza in the bathroom might be an option to separate the sink from the bathroom. All right. Thank you for listening.